All right. Just checking our systems here. Probably is 11 o'clock. Let's see. Give people a few more minutes to kind of jump in here a little bit. That's all right. Too many monitors. It's all good though. Well, I appreciate you guys joining me today. I'm going to go ahead and fire this up. Looks like we're streaming okay here. Getting notifications, that's good stuff. All right. Let's see, do I share my screen yet or not? Well, tell you what, let's go ahead and pull up our screen notes here. All right, so welcome to LinkedIn for B2B lead generation. This is going to be part one. I promised you that you would have a strategy after this is over, and you will not be disappointed. So hopefully you're ready. A lot of marketers have tried using LinkedIn to connect with and reach out to prospective customers and found that it's been somewhat difficult or challenging. So I want to give you a couple of big takeaways first before we get into the nitty-gritty of how to do this properly, at least the strategy that's kind of worked for us, okay? The first one, LinkedIn rocks, right, when it comes to B2B because of basically its targetability, right? So one of the big takeaways here and why business owners are attracted to it, why small business executives, C-levels, even global brands, I've connected with people I would have never been able to get a hold of if I had just tried to pick up the phone or even just kind of met at a conference. In fact, conferences actually can be a really good way to meet individuals that, and then you follow up because you're one of the unique people. Your name is there. They may have spoken at one of these conferences. You may have met them at the expo, whatever the case may be, exchange cards. They become part of your network and you're able to then talk to them without a gatekeeper being around, right? So there's a lot of advantages to that, but LinkedIn really rocks in terms of targeting specific companies, geographies, titles within those companies, characteristics. All of these things as number one are important is LinkedIn is really good at targetability. So that's going to be the first thing, right? So targetability. Target, that way you get the idea, right? The second thing I want to kind of highlight to you is a big picture thing is signals. Some of the brands out there, it's constant, right? So the people that you're selling to always need your stuff, okay? And those are great opportunities for LinkedIn to be able to just connect with people, to be able to keep the communication going because they're always needing your services and things like that. But for every one of those, there's like a dozen or so other ones out there that are B2Bs that sell into the business channel, but their customers don't always need their stuff all the time, right? It might be project-based. They have different different things or different needs at certain times, or maybe they only need them every couple of years, or they need it every 6 months. Maybe those jobs are never shopped. Maybe it's always just, I have a contractor and that's always who I call. In some of the cases, they're always expected to get 3 quotes, right? So maybe it's every year, those kind of things. That's where this strategy kind of really, really works out well, because you can do that other thing, the LinkedIn targeting, at any point in time. And they're, basically, as long as you have that customer relationship, you can usually communicate with it in an intelligent way, right? So it's the signal that I'm talking about. And this is part of the secret sauce I'm gonna let you guys into in just a minute here about why and how this actually works. So I'm gonna write down signals, but the signal itself, if you're watching all these people and they post some things like that, that's good. But again, it's actually, if you look at LinkedIn, there's actually a technology or tool that I'm going to bring you into that allows you to kind of kind of smell out the fact that these people need your stuff. Okay. So in some cases, it might be a license, that's, like an offline signal, right? A building permits, all of that stuff, or there's a PR statement. So a lot of those are signals that somebody, a company, or a level of employee will need your stuff at some point. But there's a better tool, I think, out there that will allow us to help with that. And by the way, it's free, which is kind of cool. The third thing is be a thought leader. So many of us, we believe in our stuff, right? We make the best stuff. We have the best people, we have the best customer service, all that great stuff. But the problem with that is, and a lot of times the good thing about it is that we're very proud of what we do, right? The bad thing is that's kind of how we kind of shake hands and say, hey, how you doing? My name is Chris and I do whatever. And you need my stuff because of whatever, right? We're missing the point in this one. We need to contribute first. A lot of you have heard this statement. In fact, the point of this podcast, this marketing webinar, really webcast, is really to share with you ideas. And some of you will decide to say, yeah, I can do that. Some of you say, yeah, I can have my employees do that. And some of you may say, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to have somebody go do that for me. Okay. So the purpose of this is to share information. Okay. Now, if your core is not marketing, then you may just say, you know what, I'm going to stick to what I do best. I'm just going to outsource that to an agency, or maybe hire an individual, as a contract employee or something of that nature, whatever the case may be for you. But the third portion is to be a thought leader. So as you go about your LinkedIn evolution, right, company and then individual within that company, because let's say your sales, right, you need that company profile optimized, but you also need, whether you're an attorney, whether you're a salesperson, whatever the case may be, your profile also needs to be optimized. But as you, as an employee of that company, kind of go about the LinkedIn universe, right? You need to go ahead and make sure that you're contributing to that. So the key to that is groups, right? So you don't just go into a group and introduce yourself and say, buy my stuff. You often go in there to contribute. So you find, whether it's different organizations, industry trade publications, kind of like if you think about the old conferences and expos, right? There's companies there that have big, massive directory lists. They basically have everyone's name and, email address and things like that. So you can actually go ahead and engage a lot of those circles and be helpful in those communities, to be known as the thought leader, the one that often solves problems for people within that group. And then when the need actually comes up, literally the deal is done before they even get the other quotes. The only reason they're getting other quotes potentially is because, well, they have to. If they're the decision maker, they're like, you know what, I'm just going to call that company and it's done, right? So that's the third big takeaway in this that a lot of people miss. And that's where the networking, the social networking, really kind of comes about. The purpose of this one and why it's better for B2B is because these people are business professionals. A lot of people have tried like Facebook and other forms of advertising, or even Google AdWords, for example. And I'm not poo-pooing Google AdWords, but what I am saying is the targetability of something like this in LinkedIn is far greater in the B2B community. And a lot of us just haven't been able to kind of embrace it the way it probably should have been. So the process here, guys, is this. And you've got all this, I hope, right? I don't know why. Maybe some of you know why. The blue comes off easier, but it doesn't show up as well. So the process works like this. We'll outline the process today, and we're going to go we're going to take one or two. Actually, we'll definitely hit the first one, but there's other points in here that we're going to be able to, kind of expound on a little bit. And then next week in part two, we're actually going to build the whole thing out. So you're going to see that stuff. So we call this first one the process, right? The first part of this process is what we call pre-plan. Okay. Some of you may be used to this term, like, whether it's a marketing analysis, right? Or basically it's the strategy of who, what, when, where, why, and how. So we call it pre-planning. Our agency calls it pre-game, really thinking game time is when you're actually going to execute this stuff. We could do pre-game analysis where we're looking at keywords and, doing the sales interviews and things like that to figure out what's worked, what hasn't, what are the hurdles, who is our competition, all of that wonderful stuff, right? Who are the titles of the companies? What are our biggest products, right? What do we want to focus in on? What brings us the most revenue? What has the highest volume? Why don't people buy from us, right? These are pre-planning kind of questions that are out there. So who's your target market? What are they most interested in? What does your product or service actually solve as it relates to that? Is there a way to monetize that for somebody who you're selling into, right? Did it save money for them? Did it save time? Try to figure out what those things are. And then bullet those things out, right? So that you're capable then of making yourself unique and different, right? Or overcoming hurdles potentially that need to be there. So, one of the ones I'm haggling with doing the software company in terms of the next week's build out for LinkedIn, but is a small boutique software development company that specializes in creating database applications and solutions, as well as campaign management tools and marketing tools for catalog companies, right? So you're going, well, if I know who that target market is, I can actually go across them. But one of the challenges they have is their boutique, right? That boutique means small. Well, how do we overcome that when you're talking about a Fortune 500 or Fortune 1000 company potentially being interested in your stuff, right? Is there a way to overcome that hurdle, right? So thinking about those things in advance and positioning yourself, your brand, your product and service so that it answers the question, right? Before it's even asked, because it's a consideration, right? So these are the kind of things to be thinking about. The second thing is set the goal and content. And this is kind of what we just talked about, right? Once I've done that kind of an analysis of, who, what, when, where, why, and how, I actually need to put something together. Usually it's some type of landing page, right? And they may have multiple landing pages depending on what your pre-planning process kind of identified. So when you set your goals, what's the goal of this? So let's assume you're able to reach out, and I'll just call it like Mark. I'll call it Mark Johnson. I'll make a name up. Mark Johnson at XYZ company is who I really want to go after. And it might be other companies like that. It might be the title, but either way, I want to go after Mark. But I know that his hurdles are this, his opportunities are this. So I get him to click in, right? So he sees the campaign, he sees it out there on LinkedIn, and he's going to come to me for some reason, right? So he clicks it. Now we've got the page that we want to take them with. We're telling our great story. Now, what's the goal? What's the goal? Okay. And I'm simplifying the process because in LinkedIn, you can actually create the goals actually on LinkedIn and use those as actually performance metrics to do something with, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. So either way, what's the goal? And then developing the content necessary for that. And like I said, that bullet point list that we did in pre-planning is very helpful in that. So it identifies what makes us unique and maybe overcoming some of those hurdles. The third thing is, and this is the secret, signal. You can usually find, so there's big companies, there's medium-sized companies, and there's small companies, right? Big companies have a different set of challenges to sell into, right? So we can usually find out who those people are, right? We can Google VP of whatever and at these global companies, and we can usually figure out who that is. And we might be able to reach out on LinkedIn and connect with them and be understanding of what groups they kind of fall into. That's one kind of situation. You have the other one, which are small businesses. And small businesses are usually really good at networking at the local level with people, right? So they're very easy and open to having and receptive to a reach out via LinkedIn or any of those nature. So that's pretty simple there as well. The middle of the road is often a little bit more difficult to find. They may have published information on their website about whoever it is, but then a lot of times they're not, because there are departments and things like that that often kind of get a little bit lost. So you can do your own research and find that out. Or, again, this is where the signals happen. Example, if they're hiring for a certain position, if this company is hiring for a certain position that does what you do, okay, that does what you do, product or service wise, might they be interested in hearing from you? So they're essentially saying, I need a manager of X or a director of Y at my company in the city. They're telling you a couple things. Usually those people don't show up on the list that even like you can buy, right? But what they're telling you is that department, that business has a budget, they have a need, and they've just identified themselves to you. Okay. So using LinkedIn, I'm sorry, using Indeed, did I write that down? Yes, Indeed.com, in order to find those positions and those companies hiring for that kind of related service or product tells you a lot. And basically with Indeed.com, you can set up alerts, right? In terms of cities, titles, and things like that. And you basically get those emailed, right, to yourself or to your team members. So that becomes kind of your lead list, to be quite frank with you. So that's really kind of important. That kind of teases you into the rest of this and how the strategy works out. Now, when we go ahead and we plan and reach out directly using LinkedIn. Now, when we reach out to individuals that we've identified or companies that we've identified using the Sales Navigator tool, for example, on LinkedIn, if you're a sales organization, your salespeople need to have Sales Navigator. That's the extra LinkedIn component, right? Which I forget what the subscription is. It depends on what size company you are and those kind of things. But it gives you a whole bunch of filtering ability and searchability in regard to finding prospects. Okay. And it is worth every single dime because you would never be able to talk to a lot of these people if you didn't have this tool. Neat thing is too, you can actually see who's serious and who's not in LinkedIn based on how often they post, what they post about, obviously their title, company, level within the organization, all that fun stuff. But you get a whole bunch of intel on that individual, even when they last posted and things like that, see how engaged they actually are. So when you go ahead and you take a tool like that, you can actually reach out to people, right? And so part of this is when you reach out to them, you can do that using the Sales Navigator. But you can also do that, which is the part 5 of this. And by the way, think about the groups too with this, with the reach. So individuals, right? But you can also use the groups for this. And you get a certain number of credits in the different packages with the LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So you can actually send them emails, right? And that kind of leads into this last one where basically it's the advertising necessary. So in addition to you following up with them and engaging in different groups and being helpful there, you can also use advertising to not only introduce your brand and the benefit of that brand to them, reach out directly, but also post. So for example, we often will season, it's called priming really, right? So if I can show, and we'll go back to Mark Johnson again at XYZ company. If I know that I'm going to reach out to Mark Johnson later on this week, today is Monday. If I'm going to reach out to him on a Thursday or Friday, okay, via the actual, I'm going to go find him in Sales Navigator. I'm going to go ahead and target him. Maybe even a couple people around him, by the way, because he works in a department and teams and all that fun stuff. But I'm going to reach out to Mark on Thursday. I may set up a campaign to target Mark, that company and that area, right, at certain job levels and certain titles. I might start that ad so he sees a day or two of it potentially. Then I go ahead and reach out, right? He may not have even responded to my email, but he's also going to see ads for the next couple of days after that. Okay. He's much more likely to remember me or my brand. And because I knew my benefits to him, if I hit his sore spot right, I get the engagement. So there's a lot to be said for just thinking through strategically on a lot of this stuff, and being able to take it to the next level because we're all just people, guys. What are things we want to talk about? Oh, big picture. Yep. Target businesses, title, company, location. Let me share screen. And let's see. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do that. And So this is where we'll start. Now that you conceptually, you've got the idea going on. And like I said, next week, we'll build these things down through a specific example. Maybe we'll use our agency. I don't care. But just to give you an idea as to how this works. But after this, using Indeed.com and what we just talked about, you can have some homework. So maybe the tactics would be maybe meeting with your sales teams this week and finding out the who, what, when, where, why, and how, right? To be able to go ahead and finish off the second component next week when we talk. But the LinkedIn, this is, let's see, it's business.linkedin.com marketing. So you can do like LinkedIn advertising, right? Or something of that nature that allows you to kind of see this page. Or I can just share the link in the show notes, which I already have it in there. So that's good. So there's a couple different content pieces that you can go ahead and advertise with. The sponsored content is just, and I brought this up, guys, because LinkedIn has a ton of really great videos. And the tools that they give you are unlike Google, which are designed only to screw you and make you money. They actually seem to be designed to help you. There is a lot of content here that you guys can decide to engage with. I'm sharing the overall architecture of the plan and how it folds in. These are the resources and the tools necessary to deploy the advertising component of that, okay? But the first one is sponsored content. You guys, if you've used LinkedIn before, you've seen these, right? It has a little promoted piece in there and you can see it. Now those can be videos, those can be pictures, all of that, which is great. Really good stuff. You can target by title, by company, by location, right? Real simple stuff. The same theme is going to show up every single time I talk. The next thing is this sponsored messaging. Like I mentioned before, you're basically sending them an email, and you can see it in here. It shows up in their box. Now, a lot of people who use even Sales Navigator aren't really responding as well as they could. That's why that advertising component works really well, where I'm starting to kind of lay that foundation for that reach out, right, to the individual or individuals within that group or company that I want to go after or target, right? So these are fantastic, the sponsored messaging. Again, you'll see bullet points. People love bullet points. People keep it simple, okay? But it's basically an email. Really, it's an email, okay, to get engagement, all right? Text ads, just what it shows. These are pay-per-click, right, which is great. But again, targeting, title, company, location. Don't be lazy. Like, spend the time to set these up or you're just going to be wasting your money. So take the time, test. Different creatives will work different companies and even different levels within those companies. Okay. As you can see, you've got text here that you can test out and engage with different people. Okay. Don't be talking tactics like I'm talking about right now. Actually, I'm talking about theories right now in terms of this. The tactics come in to people who are actually doing the work. Now, can you be pitched up, up the food chain? Yeah. But conceptually, just like this, we're sharing the overall concept so that we can tool you, right? For the executive to go, are we doing this and how to do this? And maybe even share this video. But I'm trying to go after and make sure that as sales professionals, our organizations, whether they be small, medium-sized, or enterprise-level businesses, are doing this right, okay? So this is really good stuff here. One of my favorites thus far is this personalized. People are still lazy. It's a shocker, right? So the dynamic ads allow you to customize your piece, right? So basically, you're creating an inbound funnel that allows them to basically say, yep, I'm interested in your stuff. Okay. And we'll go over all the details of that a little bit. Next week, we'll be kind of laying out some of that stuff, basically creating an inbound funnel that allows people to go ahead and get content, to see content that you have, because you've done the pre-planning process, important to them, identifies a need and solves that problem, and then gets that engagement. So good stuff here. Again, I'll put that link in the show notes. Next week, we'll go over the actual technical process of working through setting it up and things like that. Just to give you an idea, let's do, heck, let me just pull it up. So let's do, let me just go to Indeed. I don't remember my login. Basically get alerts, right? So am I in? Let's see. Yeah, I'm still in. Okay. So I think you guys can see my screen. Hopefully you can, or this is going to be not very fruitful for you. Okay. Maybe not. All right, here, we'll do this. I'm going to stop sharing so you guys can't see my email. I'm going to go ahead and do a search for Indeed. Okay. So let me go ahead and kind of work through just, again, this is preparation for you guys so that you can be thinking about that this week. Okay. So let me go ahead. I've now got the filter going on. Again, I get alerts from this stuff, so I don't actually have to log in. So these are Sundays, Saturday. All right. So this is one, and we have different cities going on. I forget some of these cities, but we have a ton of cities. So Tampa, we have Chicago, we have Orlando. We've got a couple different ones, right? Las Vegas, because we have a sales partner there. We have sales partners in Ohio. So Cleveland is a target, Chicago. So anyway, so one of the really neat things about this, again, is this is a signal, right? So we're an agency. So my job is to go through and try to identify people raising their hands saying, you know what, we have a marketing team. We do marketing here. We have a budget. We're serious about it. We're not so small we don't. So you can actually use, so for example, marketing coordinator. So this is their, Ashley Furniture is hiring a marketing coordinator in Tampa. Okay. Now my job, if I think that this is a good one to go after, is go ahead and use the search tools in LinkedIn in the Sales Navigator to find out maybe who I know at Ashley Furniture. Okay. I'm smelling a signal, right? These are all signals. So, and I may know somebody, I may be second in that. Who knows? But I likely can find the decision maker and maybe a few other people around there if they're actually serious. If not, I can actually go to the Ashley Furniture website and see, I can go down that path. But anyway, this is the signal. You see how it says building relations and editorial space for content development in an earned media space. Earned media space. This position coordinates PR strategy for the home store brand. So, you know, if I have experience in this now, as somebody who maybe wants to sell into Ashley Furniture to at their marketing team, I can already have an idea as to what value points I'm going to be bringing up. In fact, let's just do this, for example. We're just going to go through. I can read this job description, and with 80% of these being the same, I already have the tip sheet on why I'm better, like, or the experience that I have with this stuff that makes our agency appropriate, right? I don't have to actually worry about any of that stuff because literally it's almost a process at this point. I still want to customize it. So let's say Mark Johnson is their marketing guy that, you know, at Ashley Furniture. And now I can actually reach out to him and say, hey, Mark, you know, saw that you were, you know, hiring a marketing coordinator. Love the opportunity to talk about, because we're better in X, Y, and Z areas, if that might be a solution that could work for you. How about a 15-minute consult? Send them to a link where we can schedule that, and away we go. So this is really the signal. This is the secret sauce, as opposed to just going in, you know, for example, cold on this. Let's just type in, I'll go back to that catalog company, just see what happens. This is Sales Navigator, by the way. You can do all these great filtering things on the left-hand side. But look, Beth Royal, now she's got a little thing right here. It says she's not really kind of involved at all. However, this Williams-Sonoma catalog merchandising person might be connected to some people I want to talk to. So, you know, I can put her on that lead tip sheet. She's in California. She has 500 plus connections. So she loves to talk with people. And actually I already have a contact kind of that I can work with. We have shared connections going on, which is cool. She doesn't have any recent activity though, so that might be something different. Okay. So there might be some gravy in there based on her profile and things like that. I might be able to kind of engage her in a conversation, maybe even some experience. Williams-Sonoma, I can't remember, it might have been one of the IAC groups as well. We have catalog experience with like Cornerstone Brands and things like that. So might be able to kind of chat with her about that. But this would be for that software company. So it would be, you know, taking on the persona of that software company and engaging, for example, Shannon here with some stuff, or even targeting the company, Williams-Sonoma, again, job titles, right? Those kind of things. So good stuff there. That's just one example. And again, you don't have to go after everyone, but this is a great way. It's a signal that says this company in this city need your stuff. So you're basically being told, go get them. They need you. So you can craft that because you've done all this pre-game, pre-planning experience. You've got that through. You've thought about what your benefit is and all that stuff. You can now go ahead and create something pretty spectacular when you make that introduction. And it's not just cold, hey, we do this better than anybody else. You're very crafty and strategic about your stuff. So that is the process. Next week, we'll go through how to actually work through all of this stuff as if we're going to target and build out a campaign. So we're going to go through some of the tactics. So do sign up for that. But again, the keys to this, really what we said, right? LinkedIn allows you to target title, company, and location better than almost any other digital property out there, okay? Its signals are good. Like I said, just here, you can actually see how likely a person is to be able to engage. You can engage different levels of that company. Great, you can send ads that way. But so that's the first thing. Just the targetability is really great. Second thing is signal, right? We can use the signals that we see on LinkedIn or other signals out there, whether that's offline signals as well. Maybe again, think about if they're, going to do, you have to file for an application to do something or patent or something of that nature. You can keep your eyes on those, and there might be databases or signals that you can kind of look at in order to say, oh, they need my stuff. That's really what this really is in LinkedIn. It's a way to figure out if some company needs your stuff, especially in that middle, not typically enterprise. It could be enterprise level. I mean, a lot of these are medium-sized businesses, but it can even be a global brand, right? It's going to be potentially a little harder that way because there is a lot of bigger staff in there. But again, whether it's an enterprise, whether it's a startup or a one shop or a handful of people, 10, 15, or even under 50, or that that medium-sized business in the middle, these are often signals that we can use to say they need our stuff. The third thing is be the thought leader, right? So contribute to these groups, right? That way, when you go ahead and you share your awesome content, right, on a regular basis, you become the go-to person. Everyone loves the go-to person. I'm on the board of our homeowner association, right? We've worked with 3 different electricians, 2 I've worked with independently, right? I'm just going to call the one that I know I can trust, right? Real simple. On my 5-minute drive to work, literally, call them, set the appointment. Not a big deal. Saves me a buttload of time, and that's how we do business. We do business with people. So I hope today's session was helpful. Please share, subscribe, leave your comment. Love to hear any questions that you have. We'll be able to address them in future sessions. And you guys have a very, very blessed day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.